It was an ordinary Sunday afternoon on a busy Orlando street. Cars moving, people going about their lives, nothing unusual. Then, without warning, a woman flung open her car door, stormed across 2 lanes of traffic, and launched herself onto the hood of another vehicle. Not a metaphor, not an exaggeration. She physically climbed onto the hood of a moving car in broad daylight on a public road. Inside that car sat a pregnant woman, terrified, trapped, with nowhere to go. But it didn't stop there. When a 68-year-old grandmother stepped out of her own car to try to help, she was attacked too, scratched, hit, in the face. And when police finally arrived and tried to make an arrest, the suspect bit a cop. 1 woman, 3 victims, an entire street brought to a standstill. So who was Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell? What pushed her to this level of violence on a random February afternoon? And what does the video evidence, all of it, tell us about what really happened that day? Stay with me, because this story is even wilder than you think. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I cover true crime stories, the real ones, the ones that make you question what goes through a person's mind when they make a decision that changes everything. Today's case comes out of Orlando, Florida, and it happened just last month, on February 23, 2026. Now, road rage incidents happen every day across this country. Horns get honked, middle fingers get raised, people yell through windows. Most of the time it ends there. But every so often, something snaps inside a person. Every so often, ordinary frustration crosses a line and becomes something much darker, something violent, something criminal. This is one of those stories. Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell, a 37-year-old woman from the Orlando area, didn't just get mad at another driver. She escalated a routine traffic moment into a multi-victim assault that was captured on police body cameras, bystander phones, and dashcam footage. The victims? A pregnant woman just trying to get where she was going, a 68-year-old woman who made the brave decision to try to help a stranger, and a law enforcement officer, simply trying to do his job. Tonight, we're going to break down exactly what happened, how the investigation unfolded, and where this case stands right now, because the footage doesn't lie, and what it shows will leave you speechless. To understand what happened on that street in February, we need to understand the setting. Orlando, Florida. Sun-soaked, theme park famous, tourist-packed, but also a city of real people living real lives, navigating real traffic on congested roads every single day. Anyone who's driven in Orlando knows it. The highways are chaotic, the surface streets aren't much better, and tempers can run short. But even in a city known for its difficult traffic, what happened on February 23rd stood out. Let's talk about the pregnant victim first, because she is the person who deserves to be at the center of this story. We don't know her full name. Police have kept her identity protected, which is the right call. What we do know is that she was going about her day, driving alone, pregnant, doing nothing more complicated than trying to navigate the road. She wasn't looking for a fight, she wasn't aggressive. By every account, she was simply trying to get from one place to another. She had no idea that a white Kia driving nearby would change her afternoon, and potentially her life. Now let's talk about our second victim, a 68-year-old woman whose name has also been withheld. She was driving in the same area when the situation unfolded in front of her. She had no connection to the pregnant woman. She didn't know her, they weren't friends, they were strangers. But when she saw what was happening, she made a choice, a brave one. She stopped her car and got out to help. That decision cost her. And then there's the officer, a member of the Orlando Police Department, whose name has not been publicly released in full detail. He was responding to what should have been a standard call, an altercation on the road, a woman who needed to be detained. What happened to him was something no officer should have to experience. And at the center of all of this, Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell, 37 years old, a Florida resident, a woman whose criminal history, personal life, and what exactly led to this moment have not been fully detailed in court documents available to the public. But what is documented, what is on video, on record, in police reports, paints a portrait of a person who, on that Sunday afternoon, completely lost control. We don't know what was going on in her life that day. We don't know what she was thinking when she first spotted the pregnant woman's car. We don't know what triggered the initial decision to begin harassing her. But what we do know is this: it started with a white Kia, and it ended in handcuffs. February 23, 2026, a Sunday afternoon in Orlando. The pregnant victim was driving when she first noticed the white Kia. She couldn't have known in that initial moment that the driver of that car had already fixated on her, already decided that whatever had happened between them on this road wasn't going to be left alone. Because Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell began doing something deliberate, something designed to intimidate. She kept stopping her vehicle directly in front of the pregnant woman's car. Not accidentally, not once or twice as a coincidence. She kept doing it, stopping, pulling up, stopping again, creating an obstacle, forcing the pregnant woman to brake, to slow, to react. The pregnant woman did what most of us would do. She honked her horn, a universal signal. Hey, I'm here, watch out. A completely reasonable response. But Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell did not take it that way. According to the report, the pregnant woman then attempted to simply change lanes. She wasn't trying to confront anyone. She wasn't escalating. She just wanted to get away. She moved over, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. In an act that defies rational explanation, Shaffer-Brockwell abruptly cut across 2 lanes of traffic, 2 full lanes, forcing her white Kia in front of the other car, stopping it dead in the road. And then she got out. Let that sink in for a moment. She stopped her vehicle in the middle of a busy Orlando street, opened the door, stepped out, and walked with intention, with purpose, toward the pregnant woman's car. And then she did something that stunned everyone watching. She jumped on the hood. That's not a figure of speech. She physically climbed onto the hood of the pregnant woman's car. She was up there, on top of this woman's vehicle, on a public road, in broad daylight. But even that wasn't enough, because what happened next shocked everyone. Shaffer-Brockwell climbed down from the hood, reached for the car door, and opened it. She opened the driver's side door of the pregnant woman's vehicle and attacked her. The woman who was, remember, pregnant, alone, trapped in her own car. And it was in that moment, as she was attacking the driver, that Shaffer-Brockwell reportedly said the words that have since made headlines. 4 words laced with profanity that tell you everything you need to know about her state of mind in that moment. Honk at me again. That was it. That was the reason. A horn. A single honk on a busy road. And this woman had decided that justified all of this. Now, here is where the timeline gets slightly complicated, and it matters because it speaks to the chaos of the scene. Police initially described the first piece of video footage as showing the attack on the elderly victim's car, but court documents later clarified that first video was actually the attack on the pregnant woman. The sequence was initially unclear even to law enforcement because so much was happening so fast in so many directions on so many cameras. That detail tells us something. It tells us how chaotic this scene was, how fast it all unfolded, how many people were affected. Because while the attack on the pregnant woman was happening, something else was unfolding nearby. A 68-year-old woman, driving in the area, minding her own business, saw what was happening. She saw a pregnant woman being attacked on a public street, and she made a decision. She stopped her car. She got out. She walked toward the situation. She was going to help. But nobody knew that the moment she stepped out of that car, she would become a victim herself. Shaffer-Brockwell turned on her immediately. The 68-year-old woman had done nothing wrong. She wasn't aggressive. She wasn't threatening. She was a grandmother by all appearances, who saw someone in danger and tried to do the right thing. Shaffer-Brockwell told her in explicit, aggressive terms to get back in her car. When the elderly woman didn't immediately comply, Shaffer-Brockwell attacked her too. She scratched her face. She hit her, on the street, in front of witnesses. A bystander had their phone out. They captured it all on video. And all of this, the jumping on the hood, the door being opened, the attack on the pregnant woman, the assault on the 68-year-old, happened in a matter of minutes, maybe less. By the time Orlando police arrived on the scene, the street was in chaos. Witnesses, victims, a woman who had already attacked 2 people and showed no signs of stopping. And then things got even worse. When Orlando police arrived on the scene that afternoon, they weren't walking into a resolved situation. This wasn't a case where the suspect had calmed down and was waiting to give her side of the story. This was still active, still volatile, and Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell was not going quietly. Body camera footage, released by the Orlando Police Department, captured what happened next, and it is difficult to watch. Officers attempted to detain and arrest Shaffer-Brockwell, standard procedure. She had just assaulted 2 people on a public street with multiple witnesses. There was no ambiguity about what had happened. The evidence was everywhere, including on the hoods and doors of the vehicles involved. But Shaffer-Brockwell did not submit to arrest. She resisted, violently. The body camera footage shows the struggle. Officers attempting to gain control, Shaffer-Brockwell fighting back, and then, in a moment that has been described in multiple news reports and is documented in the charging paperwork, she bit a police officer. She bit him. In the middle of being arrested, surrounded by law enforcement with witnesses present and cameras rolling, Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell bit an officer of the Orlando Police Department. That single act elevated her charges significantly. That wasn't just resisting arrest. That wasn't simple battery. Biting a law enforcement officer in the state of Florida carries serious criminal weight, and it would become one of the central charges against her. Now, let's talk about the investigation itself, because this case moved quickly and the evidence was overwhelming. The Orlando Police Department had multiple sources of documentation from the very beginning. They had the bystander video showing the attack on the 68-year-old. They had body camera footage of the arrest. They had dash cam footage from police vehicles. They had witness statements from people who had been on that street and seen everything unfold with their own eyes. They also had the victims themselves. The pregnant woman gave a detailed account to police. She explained the pattern of behavior, the white Kia stopping in front of her repeatedly, the escalation, the lane change, the moment Shaffer-Brockwell cut across traffic and stopped her car. She described the jump onto the hood. She described the door being opened. She described the attack. Every detail of her account aligned with what the footage showed. The 68-year-old woman also spoke to police. Her injuries were documented, the scratches on her face, the physical trauma of being struck by a stranger who had attacked her simply for trying to help someone else. Now here's where one of the more interesting investigative details emerges. When police initially reviewed and released the footage publicly, there was a brief point of confusion. They described what appeared to be the first video of the attack on a car as the assault on the elderly victim's vehicle, but court documents would later clarify that this was in fact the attack on the pregnant woman. For investigators, this kind of confusion isn't unusual in fast-moving multi-victim incidents with video captured from multiple angles. Piecing together the exact sequence of events, matching video timestamps, cross-referencing witness accounts, it takes time, it takes careful analysis. But the bottom line was never in question. The evidence was clear, the video was unambiguous, and the charging documents that followed reflected the full scope of what had happened. Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell was arrested on the scene that day, eventually after the violent struggle, and taken into custody. The charges filed against her were serious, multiple counts, each one reflecting a different aspect of what she had done. She was charged with battery on a person 65 years of age or older, reflecting the attack on the 68-year-old. That charge in Florida carries enhanced penalties precisely because of the victim's age. The law recognizes that attacking elderly individuals is not the same as a standard battery. It is a more serious offense. She was charged with aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, reflecting the bite. In Florida, aggravated battery on a police officer is a felony, a serious one. She was charged with burglary of a conveyance with assault and battery, reflecting the moment she opened the door of the pregnant woman's car and attacked her inside it. A vehicle in Florida law is considered a conveyance. Opening that door, entering that vehicle without permission, and committing an assault in the process elevated the charge from simple battery to burglary. That distinction is crucial. That is the charge that, as of the time of this recording, carries no bond. And she was charged with resisting an officer with violence, covering the broader struggle during the arrest, of which the biting was one significant part. 4 charges, each one serious, each one backed by evidence that, by all accounts, is thorough, documented, and captured on multiple cameras. The case was transferred to the court system for prosecution, and that's where things stand right now, heading toward a date with the justice system that will determine what happens next for Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell. Here is the reality of where this case is as of today. Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell is not yet convicted. She is charged. She has not yet stood trial. Her court date, as of the time this video was produced, is set for March 30th, 2026, just days away. That matters. In this country, everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That is a cornerstone of the justice system, and it applies here too. But what is also true is this. The evidence in this case is substantial. There is body camera footage. There is bystander video. There are multiple witnesses who were present on that street. There are 2 victims, one pregnant, one elderly, who spoke to police and whose accounts aligned with the footage. There is a police officer who was bitten, whose injuries were documented. The charges reflect the severity of what allegedly happened, and they carry real weight under Florida law. Let's break them down individually, because each charge tells part of the story. Battery on a person 65 years of age or older. In Florida, this is a felony, a 3rd-degree felony, specifically because of the victim's age. The legislature decided long ago that elderly victims deserve heightened legal protection. This charge alone carries up to 5 years in prison. Aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer. This is a 1st-degree felony in Florida, potentially up to 30 years in prison. The state takes violence against officers seriously, and biting someone during an arrest absolutely qualifies as aggravated battery under the statute. Burglary of a conveyance with assault and battery. This is the charge with no bond, 0. That tells you something about how seriously the court viewed this particular count at the bond hearing. A burglary conviction, even involving a vehicle rather than a home, carries significant prison time in Florida. The with assault and battery enhancement makes it more severe. Resisting an officer with violence, a felony, up to 5 years. When you add all of that together, Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell is facing a very serious legal situation. Jail records confirmed she was given $21,000 bond on 3 of the 4 charges, but nothing for the burglary count. She remained in custody pending her court date. As for the victims, the pregnant woman and the 68-year-old woman, their lives were disrupted in ways that go beyond the physical injuries documented in the report. Being attacked on a public street by a stranger is a traumatic experience. Being attacked while pregnant is terrifying in ways that are difficult to fully articulate. And being attacked when you were simply trying to help someone, when your instinct to do good was met with violence, is something that can shake a person's faith in humanity. The public reaction to this case when the footage was released by Orlando police was immediate and intense. The video of a woman jumping onto the hood of a car and then attacking the driver spread rapidly. People watching that footage didn't need much explanation. The images spoke for themselves. Many expressed anger. Many expressed sympathy for the victims. Many expressed the particular kind of disbelief that comes when you watch something this extreme and realize this wasn't a movie scene. This happened on a real road to real people on a Sunday afternoon. For the Orlando Police Department, the case represented a successful, if difficult, arrest under chaotic circumstances. The footage showed officers working to detain a violent, resisting suspect while maintaining their own composure under genuinely dangerous conditions. The officer who was bitten, who showed up to work that day and did his job and ended up injured for it, deserved recognition. Policing is hard. Moments like that one are part of why. What happens in court on March 30th and beyond will be the next chapter of this story, and depending on how the legal proceedings unfold, we may return to this case. So what do we take from a story like this? At one level, this is a story about road rage, a phenomenon that has become more common, more visible, and more dangerous with every passing year. Studies consistently show that aggressive driving incidents have increased, that people feel more emboldened behind the wheel, that the barrier between frustration and action has grown thinner for some people. A horn honk, a single honk, that is what allegedly set all of this in motion. One sound, one moment of ordinary driving behavior, and a pregnant woman ended up fighting off an attacker through an open car door, and a 68-year-old Good Samaritan ended up with scratches on her face, and a police officer ended up bitten. But at another level, a deeper level, this story is about the people who chose to do the right thing even when it was hard. The pregnant woman who didn't freeze, who spoke to police, whose account helped build the case. The 68-year-old woman who didn't look away, who stopped her car, who got out, who walked toward danger to help a stranger. She paid a price for that, but her instinct, that instinct to help, is one of the finest things a human being can do. She reminded us all what it looks like to care about someone you don't know. The bystander who kept filming, who documented what they saw. In an era where footage can make or break a criminal case, that person's presence of mind mattered. And the officers, who arrived at a chaotic scene, faced violence in the course of doing their jobs, and still managed to bring the situation to a controlled end. This case also reminds us that the justice system, with all its complexity, all its slowness, all its imperfections, is the mechanism we have for holding people accountable when they cause harm. Those charges weren't filed carelessly. They were built from evidence, from footage, from witness accounts, from the documented injuries of two women who were simply living their lives on a Sunday afternoon and found themselves in the middle of something they never asked for. We will be watching the March 30th court date, and we will update you if and when developments emerge. Until then, if you got something from this video, if it made you think, if it made you feel, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. Subscribe if you aren't already, because we cover cases like this every week. And leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. What part of this story hit you the hardest? What do you think should happen to Mandolyn Shaffer-Brockwell? Let's talk about it. Because true crime isn't just about the dramatic moments. It's about all of us, the choices we make, the lines we cross, the lines we refuse to cross, and the society we build when we decide what kind of behavior we will and will not tolerate. Drive safe out there. Watch out for each other. I'll see you in the next one.